Welcome, everyone, to the Progressive Piranha. This is Progressive Discussions. I am your host, James P. Madonna, and I am with my co-host, Damian the Wolf Owens. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I went out and did some door dashing tonight and got a pretty good amount of money. I got altogether about $70 worth of money, so that's going to be some extra fun money.
That was a little more than you got last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have done it a little longer, but my car thought it'd be an excellent idea to start overheating. So I was like, uh-oh. So I had to end the dash prematurely and get on home. And I have some antifreeze here, so tomorrow, while the mother-in-law and the wife are out doing errands, I'm going to do some car work, and then I'm going to see, if I'm running low on antifreeze, which I know how to put in.
Well, it's
not hard.
Check for leaks first.
I doubt it's leaking, but we'll see. I mean, I know how to check all the fluids, but if there is a leak, it can't be anything significant because it was filled up on antifreeze pretty good while back. So if there is a leak, it's very small and it's very minute, but just enough to cause a problem. But if it's something small like maybe a clamp or a seal or one of the hoses, yeah, I mean, that's pretty easy to fix. But if it's like the water pump or something, I don't know how to replace a water pump.
Yeah, water pump is now you're getting into pricey stuff. I had an old, when I was what was I? My late teens or early 20s. I had an old Plymouth Duster with a slant 6-cylinder engine, and my radiator, the radiator itself was leaking, and all I did was put a large tube of aluminum dust into where the antifreeze goes, and that was a quick fix of sealing up a leaky radiator.
Mm-hmm.
Not a water pump issue. I mean, the radiator itself, and it worked. Somebody recommended it. There was a place near me called 1001 Auto Parts. I went there. I says, "You have the dust?" There we have it. Here it is. It came to a long beaker. That's it. It was a done deal. It fixed it. I didn't have to get a new radiator, But then again, the car was. That was when you had carburetors, and sometimes the carburetor would get flooded, and you had to put the accelerator pedal all the way down.
Oh yeah. And
start to unflood the carburetor. That when we had carburetors, and but that thing used to fly. Well, what acceleration to have for a 6-cylinder? Anyway.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna check. Yeah, I'm gonna check, make sure everything's okay. You always, when it comes to diagnosing car problems, you always start with the basics.
Well, the old-time mechanics didn't have the computer in the car and the electronic diagnosis. They did everything by eyes and ears, and these, they did it the old-fashioned way. I guess it's like the way Cuba keeps those 1950 cars going forever. They have no choice. So let me see what topics I have here. The Revolutionary War all over again, rigged American chaos as a big distraction by the oligarch, corporate control capitalism, corporate control capitalist imperialism of the right wing oligarch today is fascism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, uh, it's funny how first you had the pandemic where they kept changing their mind every week. But it's a different story. Do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Then you had information that what we were told about the pandemic. There's a really good chance there were lies. It wasn't true because the Italians spilled the beans. The Italian doctors spilled the beans, but the information was kind of out there. It's just that the media wasn't telling us the information about how South Korea, China, France dealt with the pandemic, how other countries successfully dealt with it. But we weren't being told. It took the story to come out about the Italian doctors. Now, about what they were telling us, how people were dying, and exactly, and the numbers were being tampered with as far as the pandemic. Okay. I lost my internet. That's why you didn't see me. I had to reset the modem. I lost my internet went. You're still muted. Oh, my internet went. Hold on. How come I can't hear you? Oh, that's weird. My speakers are all right. Anyway, what was I saying before I was rudely interrupted by the sabotaging of this very hard-hitting truth show? The United States no, I don't hear you. I don't hear you. Let me hold on. Oh, my speakers are okay. You hear me? Well, let me try it. Let me check something out. Looks like the Oligarch is trying to sabotage progressive shows on the internet, apparently. Apparently. Yeah. Well, back on the internet. Well, hold on for a second. Okay. Aside from the pandemic with all the misinformation and constantly changing information, I mean, really changing information. Mainstream media has not been telling us the truth here in the United States. And of course, they get their marching orders from the oligarch. Okay. Then there's the death of George Floyd by the police officer, followed by protesting, demonstrating, rioting, and looting. Okay. Then I saw a video of the rioters being paid off by some white guy, paying off African-American young people. And as soon as they were paid off in cash, they started to riot and loot and make a lot of noise and started smashing windows. Now I hear you.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, you know what? The oligarch, something is trying to sabotage this show because I lost internet and I had to reset the modem or router. I had to reset it 3 times and restart the computer 3 times before getting back on. And the same thing happened when I was on Ronald J. Terrier's show. So what I was saying was, after the misinformation and lies and constant changing information coming from the lying U.S. media, then there was the incident with George Floyd and followed by everything that happened. So you had the media stopped talking about the pandemic. And even though the protesters and the people marching were staying apart and wearing masks or bandanas, so you had two, not one crisis, but two crises occupying the U.S. media and taking all the attention off of Donald Trump and his tweets on Twitter and everything that is involved with Donald Trump and the underhandedness of people like Mitch McConnell, the DNC, you know, rigging the primaries, everything that had to do with the election and Donald Trump's dishonesty and being mentally unstable. All the attention came off of the 2020 campaign and off Donald Trump, because now you have two crises going on simultaneously, even though they completely stopped talking about COVID-19 during this, because like my friend Ken Thiessen says, the media loves to race bait. And, you know, just like if Barack Obama's mother was Irish, but the media considered him the first black president, African-American president. Tiger Woods was half Thai, half Asian. Tiger Woods, the super talented black golfer. Okay, so the media, the neoliberals, political correctness, whatever you want to call it, the media does the race baiting. The media loves to rile up the civil rights activist leaders like the Reverend Al Sharpton and so on and so forth. So the media, because we were discussing people that consider themselves biracial, but the media and the neoliberals consider them black, even though they're 50% black. I just mentioned a couple of examples. These people admitted that they're biracial. So anyway, the race baiting, riling up the population. Now all of a sudden we got rioting and looting in different cities. So that's taken all the attention off the 2020 campaign with touchy-feely Joe Biden, and how Bernie Sanders got screwed again, and all the rotten things, all the evil things Donald Trump has done and is doing, and the crazy things he's saying constantly, whether it be on Twitter or whether it be in interviews. Now, what we have here is the ultimate double-barreled distraction. Now, I wonder how many more distractions are going to take Americans off of the 2020 campaign. It's interesting how this is going to play out. So far, we have two major distractions that are not 100% honest with the American people in terms of the media and the press. I was listening to a doctor who showed that what they've been telling us right along, include with Dr. Fauci, who is in cahoots with Big Pharma pushing for a vaccine. Okay, that what they've been telling us were lies about that crisis. Now, this crisis, we know it was instigated by, perhaps, there's a good chance, the New World Order, people like George Soros, people like part of the oligarch like him, because I saw the actors taking the payoff in the video, and then the second they grabbed the cash, they started smashing windows. It was a white guy paying off these young black kids that were at the demonstration. And as soon as they got paid off, smash, wham, bang. Vandalism and looting began. So I would not be surprised if Donald Trump and his multi-billionaire buddies didn't plan this whole thing out to get Americans desensitized to the campaign and his super low polling, and how the world sees Donald Trump, how Americans see Donald Trump as being an insane sociopath. And all these two immense, colossal crises just took Americans' mind off of Trump, off of the two-party system, off of Joe Biden, off of the DNC, off of the campaign trail, and completely off of the 2020 re-election attempt by this lunatic. So we have a bunch of lemmings that pretty much are not the brightest bulb on a Christmas tree, because they suck up everything they see on the mainstream media. And they do it every time. You know, you got people interviewed in New Jersey that still think that a wealthy person who runs a corporation is the most qualified to run the country. You have capitalist suckers that think that capitalism and the United States is like God's country. You know, that American exceptionalism is to me is American arrogance. That's why an occupation for natural resources. That's why we have like over, I think, 800 U.S. military bases around the world. It's occupation to steal resources for big oil. It's total corruption. It has failed since day one. Like I said before, founding fathers, all men are created equal. All rich white men are created equal. No other race, not women, not Native Americans, no one. Rich white men that own land. That's what the founding fathers were. And people look up to them. Oh, the founding fathers. They look up to them like they're superheroes. They had slaves. They stole from the Native Americans. They killed the Native Americans. People are really foolish lemmings and suckers in this country. Donald Trump might not be the only laughingstock. It might very well be Americans in general who have become the laughingstock. Because after all, he got elected. He's only a real estate person, a real estate, well, I don't want to say tycoon, because that it gives him too much credit. His father, he inherited and learned from his father, who was underhanded himself and stingy, and he was also a slumlord that never fixed anything in his apartment buildings in Manhattan. So, you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So that's what they got. They got a reality show entertainer, a showman, and a real estate mogul. That's what they elected. Okay. Versus a crooked politician who was married to a crooked politician. So So that's about it. You must have a lot of extra racket going on there.
No, I was just keeping it quiet. I was just keeping it muted.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's like, Mr. Michael doesn't want to show up, huh? It is.
Oh well.
It is what it is. So the distractions, whether they be misinformation, blatant lies, rabble rousing by the neoliberals and the media, you sense that they are manufactured distractions to get people's minds off of Joe Biden and Donald Trump?
Well, looking at it from a variety of different perspectives, there's quite a bit of different things that are going on here. Like, we're beginning to see that capitalism really has pitted us against each other, regardless of who we are. And it also shows that all along, capitalism has always been a class based system, and there's always been class warfare. And that's what we're seeing now is the class warfare has now gone from covert to over. Well, it's really been over for quite a while, but now it's to the point to where it's just like it's so in your face and it's so clear and plain as the nose on one's face that you'd be a fool to say that there's no such thing as class and that class antagonism and class warfare doesn't exist. And we're also seeing that all these plans that these schemers, these little control freaks, or whatever you want to call them, that all their schemes are falling apart and they're blowing up in their face and they're having the exact opposite effect of what they're intended to do. See, what they've been trying to do is they've been trying to destroy America socially and economically for many, many years. And yes, they were able to do it piece by piece by piece, slowly but slowly but slowly. Well, now they're trying to accelerate the process. And by them doing this scandemic, as it really ought to be called, this plandemic, and then now you have the fanning of race flames. They think that, it's going to continue the problem and that it's just going to get worse. But now we're seeing that it's backfiring and blowing up in their face, and rightfully so. Yeah, you still have the looting and the rioting and all that going on, but not to justify it, but to give people an explanation as to why that's happening. See, Americans try peaceful protesting and try peaceful demonstrations just to get their voice heard. Nothing happens. Really, honestly, nothing fucking happens. It really seems like the only way Americans even learn or even give a shit about something is when something breaks out into violence or it turns into civil unrest where there's damage to property or damage to this, that, or what have you. So, if you didn't want them to get this violent, you should have listened to the warning signs back when they were peaceful instead of just saying, oh, well, they're full of shit, or oh, they're just bitch moaning and complaining. Well, I hate to say it, you brought it on yourself. But anyway, we're also seeing now that certain military officials as well as police officers, they're not enforcing this. They're not going along with this anymore. I think even they are starting to realize, yeah, we're where the rubber meets the road, but then yet, without us, who does the ruling elite really have in terms of enforcing the bourgeois morality? Also enforcing the bourgeois laws based on the bourgeois parliamentarianism of bourgeois politics? They now realize, you know what, without us, they have nothing. They honestly are nothing. So now, if they really want something done, then they're going to have to get off their fat, lazy asses, take off the suits and the ties, and try to enforce their will upon us themselves. They can no longer hide behind the police and the military to do it anymore. We're seeing the collapse of the American empire. We're seeing it collapsing socially, and we're seeing it collapse economically. Now, this is just a taste of what is going to come. It's going to get worse.
Well, you notice. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say is it's going to get worse. I mean, unemployment, we still have the unemployment issue not being resolved. We still do not have the debt problem under control. We don't have other various problems of society under control. In fact, they're getting worse and worse as the days progress. I mean, at this point, there is no way to say that another civil war or another revolution is not going to happen. It is going to happen because now, honestly, I think they decided, yeah, we've destroyed the system. We've destroyed Americans socially and economically. We've destroyed everything that they hold dear and true to them as individuals, and we've completely destroyed them as a society. We've completely demoralized them, desensitized them to where now they're just obedient zombies or obedient lemmings. But not everyone. Not everyone is like that.
It's true.
And if it takes only like 1 to 5%, or hell, even 10% of the American population to actually say enough is enough and rise up, that's honestly all it would take. Then you also have the police and military who are beginning to disobey orders. Like, what was it in Atlanta and New York City where protesters and police and the National Guard were walking together, and how the fucking National Guard was dancing in the streets? Even the police and National Guards are just thinking, you know what? This is a fucking joke. We're not doing this. Yeah, we'll defend property against looters and rioters, but we're not going to literally turn our weapons and start firing on American citizens, knowing damn good and well that that itself would be the ultimate spark to set off a revolution or another civil war. Now, you are seeing the rise of, you know, armed citizens patrolling their streets and their neighborhoods because of the police being the police and, you know, the military being the military. Really, I think now people are starting to see, you know what? Honestly, we cannot rely upon the police to protect and defend us and to protect and defend the Constitution of the U.S. And they're also starting to see that with the military to a certain extent. So you're going to see a rise of people saying, you know what? Fuck this. We're going to start governing and policing ourselves, which actually would be a very good thing. Taking on a Marxist-Leninist Maoist line, that's kind of how the revolution happened in China. Is, yeah, there was the material conditions which became ripe for revolution, but then as time progressed, you noticed that people started getting together, arming themselves, policing themselves, governing themselves, and they formed their own people's government right alongside of the bourgeois government. And then, you know, you had, you know, a people's townhouse, a people's library, a people's hospital, a people's whatever you think of. And eventually, when the communists took over in China, they took over the whole entire bourgeois apparatus. But here's how that was so successful. There was revolutionary potential there, and there was revolutionary organization. So when the bourgeois government fell, there was means to take it over, so that way there would be a smooth transition of power, so that way it could rule over all of China, and the Chinese Civil War would have not been exacerbated even more. So we're definitely seeing things going in the right direction. All Americans really need now is real revolutionary potential, the right mindset, as well as revolutionary leadership. So that way, if it falls, a new government can honestly take its place.
Well, you notice the Republicans used to use the poor as the big distraction because they've always waged war against the poor and blamed the poor for everything. That was a distraction for having their rich donors and friends go on a long tax vacation and wanting to cut social programs to further feed the military-industrial complex and to put the tax burden on the middle class. So they get the middle class to hate the poor and blame the poor that depend on social services. Meanwhile, the social service budget, from what I understand, is like only like 2% compared to the over 60% for the military budget, including the waste. So the big distraction years ago for Republicans was blame the poor, the welfare chiefs, the welfare queen having all those babies. And like when I was a kid, they used to mention people in the ghetto driving new Cadillacs and they're on welfare, living in the ghetto. They used to talk about the welfare queens banging out babies. So they made the middle class resent and despise the poor by brainwashing the middle class. Meanwhile, the middle class were the suckers paying most of the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first old-time big distraction. Now, of course, you have this pandemic and the race riots.
Oh, yeah.
Now you have that. Now, granted, there were cases of police brutality, and all the victims happened to be black. Okay, that is true. There is a pattern here with police brutality, but police brutality, when I saw them shooting tear gas and rubber bullets at peaceful protesters in New York City, I'm like, right away I thought about what you always told me about the police state of the New World Order, of the police state of fascism. Why do they need tear gas and rubber bullets for people that are not doing anything wrong, but utilizing their constitutional right to assembly and freedom of speech? Then two cops knock over a 75-year-old man in Buffalo, New York. He hits his head, boom, on the pavement, blood, in a pool of blood, and no one was trying to help him. No one was seeing if the old man was alive or calling for EMTs, 911, nothing. Nobody was doing anything. They just kept walking by after they deliberately shoved the 75-year-old man, a bystander, unarmed, old man, not doing anything. He was white, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So what's to stop them from just attacking any American citizen violently? If they did that to a 75-year-old man that wasn't doing anything.
Exactly. I guess honestly nothing. But here's what I find very ironic. You're seeing the overtness of just how much of a double standard America has always been found upon and how much it's always existed socially and economically here in America, where you had people ready to, take up arms and rebel against a tyrannical government because of the quarantine and lockdown measures, which were draconian. Yeah, Americans had a right to be pissed off and say, you know what? We do have the right to still go out. We're not criminals. You've not done this in a legal manner. So, yeah, that was the beginning signs to see that this government is turning corrupt and it is turning tyrannical. Then now you're seeing this, but then yet here's what's very ironic. Those same people that were ready to take up arms to fight against the tyrannical government by saying that the governors with their quarantine and lockdown measures were being draconian, but then yet now they're saying, oh, well, the police and protesters and the military, all they have to do is for the police to do this and that and have protesters obey and nothing will happen. Yeah, bull fucking shit. They've been peaceful. They've not been bothering anybody. So you're advocating now for the perpetuation of the very same thing you are railing against. I've always said it from the very beginning. If it's wrong, if it feels morally and ethically wrong, don't do it. And I knew right from the get-go, the quarantine lockdown, that was immoral, that was not ethical, nothing good would come of it. People said I was crazy and it's got to be done for safety. Well, guess what? I was right, they were wrong. Then now we're seeing the rise of the police state now where they're basically acting like military thugs and acting like the way that the U.S. military does to other people throughout the world. And it's like, where are those people saying, you know what, enough's enough. It's time to take up arms. It's time to start the revolution.
Well,
Nowhere.
well,
They're licking the boot heels of the police state.
if the police brutality continues like it's been, there will be a revolution.
Oh, yeah. It's on the fast track. And for those federal officers or whoever the fuck you want to call them, where they cleared out Lafayette Park just for Donald Trump to do that sick, pathetic photo op.
Oh, holding the Bible up in the air?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, you do that to the wrong person, and you are going to have hell to pay. There's only so far before you can brutalize and oppress a population before they say enough's enough, and they use the very same tactics against their oppressors. So all I gotta tell them is, this is what I say to them. Yeah, you might be able to get away with it today, tomorrow, maybe the next day and the next day, but you won't be able to get away with it forever. You'll do it to the wrong person at the wrong time, and that will probably be the last mistake they'll ever make.
Or they do it to the wrong state where the people are heavily armed, and there happens to be militias in those states training, and they start that police state, police brutality crap, beating up senior citizens and women and brutalizing people that are just really not doing anything wrong. And there will be retribution. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't know the Bible or any religion from his anus. He doesn't know a damn thing about Christianity. That was just a photo op. I don't know what it was for, because everybody knows Donald Trump pretty well by now. So I don't know what the photo op of him holding up the Bible in front of the church means, but the bishop in charge of that church was furious that he did that to those people, to just take a photo in front of the church that she runs. Yeah, she was interviewed, and she really went on and on talking about what Donald Trump really is, and she's appalled by him committing acts of violence against innocent, peaceful protesters just to take a religious photo op in front of her church.
Yeah, it was a publicity stunt, but he made the announcement not too long in the Rose Garden saying he's going to deploy the military and this and the other. But I'm like, whoa, hang on just a fucking second here, Donnie. Listen to what you just fucking said. You literally, when there was the scamdemic going on, you literally said that these governors, by threatening to use the police and the National Guard against COVID-19 dissenters, was an evil, horrific, terrible thing to do. Well, look what you just did, you fucking hypocrite. You literally used the very same people that you said should not have been used against COVID-19 dissenters. Well, you just used that against peaceful protesters. And honestly, if you Trump supporters out there, if you supported Trump for any reason, and you still support him after that, honestly, I hate to say it, you're a fucking evil, terrible piece of shit human being, and honestly, I don't think there's any hope for you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's up to the governors to utilize the National Guard in their states. It's not up to the president in Washington. It's up to the governors to decide. And also, there's something called a Democrat-controlled Congress. You're going to use the military, and you want to send in armored vehicles and tanks against peaceful protesting American citizens in a state where the governor can say no. And they have said no. They rejected his use of the military. Donald Trump thinks he is a dictator of just about everything, the world, the universe. He thinks he's a self-appointed dictator, in this case, military dictator, which they usually are corrupt. So that kind of fits the bill with Donald Trump. He probably is so drunk with power now, with his sociopathic ego. He's probably lost his mind, because he has said a lot of wacky things, and they're getting crazier and crazier as time goes by. And I mean, what president says insane things in the middle of the night on Twitter? This guy's the only one.
Yeah,
it's like it's total insanity, rubber room, straitjacket, you name it. That now I don't even think about Bernie Sanders getting screwed, because I knew he was going to get screwed anyway. Let me tell you, Joe Biden would be 1,000 times better than Donald Trump. And Joe Biden is a corporatist. He would be light years better than Donald Trump. At least we'll have like a voice of reason and some sanity.
But only to a point. Only to a point.
Yeah, well, to a point, but it's not going to stop the oligarch and NWO.
Exactly.
They're going to continue to control the media. They're going to continue to stage what do you call it in the military? False flag.
False flag operations.
They're going to be doing just like they did with the pandemic and the George Floyd incident. It was staged. Salvatore Mercurio he posted that video, and I looked several times. I played it back. White guy pays off young blacks at demonstration. Soon as they got the money, they started jumping up and down, screaming and breaking windows. So that white guy is probably an agent for the New World Order.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Paying off these kids. They make it look good. Stop busting everything. Start looting. Set things on fire here. And he probably paid them pretty damn good. So, and when you go in that neighborhood and start paying people off very well, you can get people in those neighborhoods to do just about anything. But it's like in Mexico, they say, if you're looking for something illegal really fast, ask a Mexican police officer and give him a little tip, give him a little gratuity. If you're a ghetto is like a little tiny baby third world country.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. As soon as you enter the hood, it's like going into a corrupt banana republic, third world country, and you can grease people's palms. You can pay them off very easily. So that's what the video showed, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what actually happened.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised either. But to play devil's advocate, okay, let's say Trump loses 2020. And Biden gets in for 2020 to 2024. Well, honestly, if you think things are bad now under Trump, they would probably be a hell of a lot worse under Biden. And here's why.
Well, I'm not voting for Trump. There's no way.
Well, at this point, honestly, I'm over trying to vote because voting is not going to do anything. I'm honestly to the point where I'm just like, people, get together, police and govern yourselves. Forget the bourgeois system. Start policing and governing yourselves. That way, there can really be change. But anyway,
Well, I know Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton are, I mean, and most of the Democratic Party are corporatists. I already know that. If you call yourself a centrist, you're a corporatist. You might as well say
Right.
corporatist. I know that. But right now we have a pretty much insane sociopath in the White House. Somebody's got to be in the White House.
You're right.
But I'm not a registered Democrat anymore. Not for a decade at least. I'm an independent. I hate the DNC. I mean, I'll admit it, but they got it rigged where, okay, there might be other people on the ballot, but the media will not give them any face time at all, and guaranteed people won't even know who's running in the Green Party. That man that's running in the Green Party.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right, but let me put it to you this way. I mean, yeah, Donald Trump is evil and terrible as is anyway, but you give that to Joe Biden, you think things are bad now, things are going to get worse. The wars that are currently going on and the way that the U.S. is acting, not only domestically right now, but also internationally, if it's bad now, it will be a hell of a lot worse under Biden, because Biden used to be what would have been considered a Dixiecrat back in the day. He was against the civil rights movement. He was basically a Democrat in Republicans' clothing. So he's also a war hawk, a big time war hawk. So you will definitely see a lot of escalation in the Middle East. You'd see a lot of escalation in terms of trying to fight China and Russia, knowing damn good and well that's probably going to start World War III. You're probably going to see an escalation on the Korean Peninsula, knowing that in itself could start something completely horrific. Then, you think things are bad with the police state now rising? Oh, you better believe Joe Biden would jump all over every single chance he could to put that nail in the coffin. Right now, if Joe Biden got elected, say goodbye to the United States of America. Say goodbye to any what little social freedom and economic freedom you got left. It'd be gone. The police state would really get the final nail in the coffin, because he supports the draconian measures that only what was going on during the quarantine and the lockdown, but he also still does support, despite what he wants to say, that yeah, he was for it only for the dissenters, but he's not against it for the protesters. Yeah, bullshit. You can't trust the man as far as you can throw him. So yeah, you're going to see a crackdown on that. You're going to see basically America failing and collapsing, like to the point to where he puts the pedal to the metal and the gas pedal gets stuck and there is no brakes. So pretty much it's either you're damned if you pick Trump, you're damned if you pick Biden. The only reason you won't get damned is if you say, the hell with this, it's time for change, real change, it's time for a whole new system from the ground up. Because if you don't, yeah, I honestly feel sorry for what this country is going to be like. I really honestly do.
Yeah, because I mean, there are real progressive options out there, but no one knows them. Like I said before, because the media that's controlled by the oligarch won't give them FaceTime. They won't get the American people a chance to get to know any of the other ones. They're not going to get invited to the presidential debates, like Dr. Jill Stein wasn't invited, but she was on the ballot. So it's always about the DNC, and the Republicans, two parties, and they're both oligarch controlled. So all the progressives, all the independents, you don't really get to know them, even if they're on the ballot. That's what's going to happen, unfortunately. It now, with all the lies you hear from the media about everything, and Michael Hilton from San Francisco, California, welcome.
Hello, guys.
Hi, I was telling him about the two big distractions. The pandemic and the rioting are two big are too big concocted distractions to get people's mind off of Donald Trump and off of the 2020 campaign with Joe Biden and Trump. They're huge distractions. So that's
What
what
do you feel like Donald Trump played it?
the Oligarch and New World Order played it. Donald Trump is just a mere puppet. He's not really as rich as some of the other oligarch members. He went bankrupt so many times. You know, I'm talking about.
Okay, there was a Black Lives Matter protest. Sorry, there was a Black Lives Matter protest in my town of Larkspur today.
Really? In your town? Larkspur?
Yeah, in Larkspur there was a protest. I was working, and then I noticed that all these cars were going by, and some people were even honking Black Lives Matter, and they were honking it in that form. Hit, hit, hit. And
Yeah. Well, they're just doing it.
That was cool.
It's you know what? The police brutality is the reality of the police state, the fascist police.
Reality.
Well, fascism, if people ever looked it up in the dictionary, it means that corporations have control. Corporate control is fascism. And the police state is they're thugs going in there and roughing up innocent citizens that are not doing anything wrong. And you've seen it, Michael Hilton. You've seen the police brutality against the old man in Buffalo, 75-year-old white man. You've seen it again.
People cheering for the cops, and then they were kind of booing the white guy who got knocked down. I think I heard that.
Who was booing the white guy that got knocked down?
I think there. I could be wrong, but I think there was a group outside the court that was just cheering for the police officers who knocked the white guy down.
I bet they were trumpeters. I bet they were flag waving Trump supporters that were doing that. That's horrible. You know what that reminds me of? The Colosseum in Rome, when people used to cheer when the emperor went like this and the gladiator killed his opponent. You know, the brutality. That's the way these people are behaving, like the Romans did in the Colosseum. It's really my grandfather predicted this. He told me as a kid that this was going to happen. He told me all about politics and all about capitalism, and because he was a ultra left wing. He says right wing Republicans are reactionary, and their politics is based on ideology. And he used to tell me about Karl Marx. He's still like Damien mentioned to me. You know, my grandfather was very involved in the left wing movement. But
by the way, did you ever listen to the Karl Marx Communist Manifesto audiobook?
Me?
I listened about half of it so far. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's very intellectually stimulating.
Yeah, and what Lenin said was so accurate today about capitalism being what did he say? It was like imperialism at its worst.
All right, here's the Lenin quotes. Okay, imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, and communism is the highest stage of imperialism. Or no, socialism is the highest stage of communism. Hang on. Yeah. Imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, and communism is the highest stage of socialism. And then also the other quote was, fascism is capitalism in decay.
That's the one you told me. At that time, it was the imperialism of the czars and the czarinas, the Romanov family, right?
Yep. Tsar Nicholas II.
Yeah, they were in like St. Petersburg, Russia, on the Baltic Sea. They had like a palace built by slave labor or something, and the people died trying to build this freaking palace. But so that was the Bolshevik revolution, they called it.
Yep, you had the Bolsheviks, which were considered the majority. Then you had the Mensheviks, which were considered the minority. And then I explained, that the Bolsheviks ultimately did come to power. The Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks did not like each other because they had very different, very different ideological differences. And then you had the Cossacks, and then pro-Tsarist forces trying to overthrow um, the Bolsheviks in the Russian Civil War that happened from, I want to say, about 1917, 1918 till about 1922, 1923. And then about that time, that's when Stalin took over because Lenin honestly could not cope with things anymore, and he had that massive stroke, and then he died in 1924. But then you also had Leon Trotsky, who was nothing more than a bourgeois puppet all along, to where he would have been the opportunist. I could say alternate history, just briefly. I could say there was no longer a continuation of Leninism. There would have been a Trotskyist revolution as compared to a Leninist revolution, where Stalin didn't come to power, but instead Leon Trotsky did. The Soviet Union, it would have been dead on arrival because at that point, Leon Trotsky would have been so opportunistic to where, yeah, he would have been for revolutions throughout the world, but not socialist or communist revolutions. If it was a revolution, he would have been for it, knowing damn good and well that that would have opened up the bourgeois puppets to come back in and completely undermine the Bolshevik revolution. So I'm glad that Stalin had him killed because he truly was a traitor to socialism and communism, and he was nothing more than a bourgeois tool. So yeah, I'm glad Trotsky was gotten rid of.
The Cossacks, they were down by the Ukraine, right? The Cossacks, they were expert horsemen.
Yeah, they were also known as the White Army.
Yeah, and they used these sabers. I saw a documentary of how sharp they were. They were great sword fighters with the sabers, and the White Army was the Cossacks. They were probably down near Odessa, down in the Ukraine, and that.
Mm-hmm.
History is fascinating, especially if history could have been easily changed if certain things, only one little thing did take place or didn't take place.
Yeah, that's where I did the alternate history hub of the Soviet Union never collapsed.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. What would have happened if one little aspect was different? Yeah, I remember that. Well, now I think it's time for the State of the Union tarot card reading by Damon.
Yep, it is that time, but I'm going to take a quick bathroom break and get a drink, so I'll be back in just a second.
All right. I'll play a little juice harp. Wow. Mr. Michael Hilton, what did you have for dinner?
I had my recipe of pasta salad with the cod. So I finally finished the cod from Trader Joe's, and then after that, I added that alongside the cocktail sauce and the marinara sauce with black pepper.
Now,
So I just did all that.
I found a big frozen slice of Sicilian pizza with mushrooms and cheese in the freezer that my sister gave. Well, my sister gave it to me, and it ended up in the back of the freezer. And then I stumbled upon it, and then I nuked it. Well, I defrosted it first, and I nuked it for 1 minute. It was hot. Usually, dairy product cook very fast in the microwave. Anything that's dairy.
I have a beer. I finished it, and I'm not drinking anymore. But
North
I have a beer.
IPA.
I was drinking this earlier. This is North Island IPA.
Where's the brewery from?
Coronado Brewing Company. I think that's in San Diego.
Another brewery that, holy crap, San Diego's loaded with breweries.
San Diego's a fucking epicenter.
You said Toronado?
Toronado is a bar in San Francisco that does a lot of craft beers. This is Coronado Brewing Company.
Coronado Brewery in San Diego, along with Alpine Brewery, that's 2.
Yep.
Belching Beaver is 3.
With the Duet IPA.
Ballast is 4.
Sculpin.
Huh?
Sculpin. Ballast does Sculpin.
Okay, so how many breweries? 4, right? Or is
At
there
least
more?
4.
At least 4 breweries. Yeah. And I haven't been to one because my ex was real bossy, and she wanted, all she cared about is going to Cabo San Lucas by car. I didn't get a chance to do shit.
Oh, fuck. This is a New England IPA.
If I was with my brother,
this is what Eric. Sorry, man. This is what Eric would like. New England IPA. Sorry, go ahead.
Wait a minute. That's made in San Diego, but it's called the New England IPA, or is it similar to it?
New England style IPA, man. New England style.
Yeah,
IPA.
like Sierra Nevada has New England style IPA.
Oh.
Now the double.
You can't call it a Nipa if it's not from New England.
I like the Imperial IPAs and the doubles because it's more full-bodied, hazier, potent, more alcohol.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, like at least it has to be at least 8%, right?
Yeah. Where's Gary? Where were you? It's showing that you were kicked off the internet, but I see you guys have been going for an hour 17 minutes, dog.
Oh, we were just talking about a lot of stuff, but I had to reboot the what is it? The modem, the router. What the fuck do you call this thing?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I had to reboot the system, reset it 3 times before I can get back on the internet. So I don't know if it's sabotage or because there's no thunderstorm today. It's quiet outside. It's quiet.
Yeah, that happened to me too. I was trying to do the Streamlabs, and this motherfucker got logged out and said, "We don't recognize your account."
Yeah, it says the DNS the DNS server cannot be reached. You start the video starts to buffer. You start to get the buffering in the circle.
I haven't seen that, but very similar.
Yeah, you got knocked off the internet for no logical reason. This is Progressive Discussions, the Progressive Piranha, with Damian DeWolf Owens and Michael Hilton from San Francisco. And this is hard-hitting truth at its finest. So,
or some people might say about San Francisco, San Freak Cisco.
Well, people say many things. South Park did a satire.
Yeah, Smug Alert.
Smug Alert. Yeah, right. But you know what?
The city, man.
You know what? If an electric vehicle was good enough for Nikola Tesla, it's good enough for me. That's all I have to say. Woo.
Definitely.
I dropped something important. Yeah, I mean, it's progress. It's science. I'm all for science. Science is wonderful. Unlike Donald Trump, who doesn't listen to scientists. Or
can I just say, what if we executed people in this country for being racist? What if I called a bigot a stupid motherfucker every time I listen to him speak? You know, how come we can't have somebody like that on the left? You know, just somebody who just says, "Shut the fuck up, you stupid motherfucker."
Well, now it's very possible that I wish one of my
Shut
wishes,
the fuck up, you stupid motherfucker.
one of my wishes, instead of having my own harem, one of my wishes is for progressives to give up that hipster Barney the dinosaur, I love you, you love me, peaceful protesting, and start getting militant. I wish the progressives really started toughening up, and but I think the
Yeah, fucking take your country back, man.
I think the police brutality with the fascist stormtroopers is going to push the American population too far.
Oh yeah, the United States Police Force.
No, they're just it's going to be vigilante. It's going to be vigilantism with militias, the people's militias. If they even the progressives will get pushed too far. Okay, now Damian DeWolf Owens will start to shuffle his tarot cards.
Actually, I've already done it. That's why I was taking a little bit getting back. Everything's already shuffled. I've already got the cards laid out, and oh man, do we have an interesting reading here for you. Yep, we definitely have a very interesting spread here, ladies and gentlemen. So let me go ahead and switch the camera. Okay, All right. Okay. All right. So we have a very interesting spread, to say the least. So we've done the typical, past, present, future outcome, and then we've got the connection cards. So this is a very interesting spread. So first we're going to start off with the past, which is being represented by the Hermit. Well, judging by everything that I'm seeing here, this is a very recent development, or this is just something that's been going on in the background or sort of behind the scenes that's only just become apparent until now. So first here we have the Hermit. He's number 9 out of the major arcana. He comes after the card Strength, but then yet comes just before the Wheel of Fortune. So the past being indicated here by the Hermit indicates that we have been looking at this from a variety of different perspectives for quite some time. But now we're definitely seeing something coming to the forefront. And what exactly is coming to the forefront? Well, as I've said it before in other readings, that we're definitely seeing an awakening, a higher sense of consciousness or self-awareness or being is coming on. We're seeing that, but where everything that's been happening here in the past little bit and where everything's been escalating so quickly that their inner wisdom and their newly consciousness awakening is starting to come to the forefront. And that is also shown further here by the High Priestess. So, the High Priestess. So, she is also a major arcana card, but you'll notice she is card number 2. So, anytime the High Priestess comes in, you'll notice it's balance and justice. So, she is kind of like the eternal gatekeeper of balance and justice, but she's also kind of like a spirit guide, if you want to think of her in that regard. So we are definitely seeing balance and justice coming forward as a very powerful force. Now the future is indicated here by the 5 of Swords. you'll notice, as what we were talking about earlier, that there was a lot of trickery, a lot of deception, and they thought that things were going to happen this way, but in fact, it turned out to be the exact opposite, and it come back to backfire on them. That's indicated by here, because you can see two swords are on the ground, and you see opponents over here defeated. Well, this guy has his sword, and he has two other swords, so he's looking at, yes, he's defeated some pretty strong opponents, but the worst is yet to come. So we're going to see more stuff going on. Now, it's going to be more for action rather than, desires or emotions. It's going to be action. So it's not really going to be a time for speculating about, what if we do this, what are going to be the pros, what are going to be the cons. That's not really going to be an effect here. This is just going to be solid action. Now, here's what's very interesting for the outcome. We have the tower. Now, anytime the tower shows up, this is either a really good thing or this is a really bad thing. Now, the fact that it's being indicated by so much stuff that's been going on in the background, like by so much knowledge and wisdom, and then now the higher consciousness awakening, now balance and justice, and now, defeating enemies or making fools or mockery of people, but still the same taking action, we have this. So, based on just these four, and we're going to go to the connection cards here in a second, this indicates that something big and something powerful is going to be happening. And when it does happen, it's going to be quick, it's going to be sudden, and it's going to be almost like a shock and awe, almost like something of a Blitzkrieg tactic. Whether it's for good or for bad, we'll see. Let's look at the connection cards. So we have the Empress here as the connection card between the past and the present. Well, you'll notice she is card. Let me get the focus going back here. Come on. There we go. All right, the Empress. You'll notice she is card number 3. She comes after the High Priestess. Now, anytime the Empress shows up, it's by mature feminine energy, not like feminism or feminazis, but getting in touch with the feminine side, or almost like a feminist or like a female warrior, if that makes any sense. Or maybe, she could be like a motherly figure or anything like that. Just so much is going on. Now, the way I would interpret this is the universe. Because if you also look here on her crown, she's got 12 stars, representing all 12 zodiacs. And then you also notice she has, the female sign there on her heart, and then she's got all sorts of different things on her robe. So I foresee this being the universe, or the coming together of human beings as a collective. That, yeah, you're still going to have individuality, but you're definitely going to see the rise of the collective. That people getting together as collectives and starting small and then building bigger. Could it potentially be, people gathering together and policing and governing themselves, having a people's government or a people's militia to fight against the bourgeois apparatus? We'll see, but definitely this is a good sign of things to come. Now, we have the Knight of Swords as a connection between the present and the future. Now, as I've stated before, the Knight of Swords is my personal favorite card, and as you can see why, this is just excellent artwork. It's a very interesting but also very powerful card. So, the present and the future, this being the connection, you are going to see a restoration of balance and justice, but also defeating enemies. So, could this be an escalation? I would definitely say yes, things are going to get escalating. or escalated. Now, what will it escalate into? It's going to be something big because, like I said, the towers showed up, and the fact that we have this, it's either going to be the people against the police and the military, or it could be any number of people, but I definitely do foresee conflict and things escalating worse than what they already are. Now, this is what's very interesting. The final connection card between the present, or no, the future, and the outcome, the Hangman. Now, the Hangman is card number 11, so he precedes the card of Wheel of Fortune, but then yet, I believe the card that is after him would be Justice or something like that. I believe, yeah, Justice. But the fact that he shows up and he's a connection, it indicates that there's going to be a whole new perspective on things. That people are going to look at things differently, or they're going to maybe look at things from a completely different perspective, or they're going to look at the same perspective just in different manners. We'll see. But ultimately, it's definitely something big. It's going to be something really new, something really groundbreaking. Now, will it be revolutionary? We'll see. But definitely the Tower plus this, and then we have the Knight of Swords, then the Five of Swords, and then we have the Empress, the Hermit, the High Priestess, all of these together. When these all come together, it indicates something big. The past, forget the past. The past is going to be the past. Now is the present, and the future is yet to come. So now we're at a pivotal point. Now it's time, like I've said before, it's time to figure out who you are and where you stand. Because it's honestly time to pick a side and find out who you are. Because if you don't, it'll be picked for you. So we'll see. I know last week's reading was kind of vague because so much was up in the air. But with all this going on, and then now all this has changed, there's been so many new developments so quickly. That's why I was saying, man, so vague and unclear to this, that's a pretty big jump. And I would say probably next week's reading is going to be way more interesting because this is definitely an excellent sign of hope that something big is going to happen, something is going to change. Now, what? We'll see. But anyway, that's my reading for this week. Stay tuned for next week's because I'm curious. I'm curious as to what next week's reading is going to show.
I think this is the first reading that the Ten of Swords didn't show up.
Yeah, actually, it is actually. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the Ten of Swords with the swords, all 10 swords going into the man's back.
Yeah, you're right. I was kind of surprised when the Ten of Swords didn't show up, but then yet we have all these different cards showing up here, and it gave a much clearer picture, but then yet also gave some diversity in terms of what all is going on. So what all is going on is very abundantly clear and overt, but then yet there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that we have honestly yet to see, but we're going to see in due time. But I do definitely foresee that there is going to be change. There's no way around it. And before I came back, I checked my phone and I noticed that the city of Minneapolis voted to go ahead and disband the police force. And I'm just thinking, oh man.
Really?
Something you honestly wouldn't have never suspected would have happened in America. America getting rid of a police force? I mean, I know you've seen in some articles throughout the years, like, towns getting rid of police force because of whatever reason. But the fact that now a major city is disbanding a police force, that is interesting. But when I was reading the article, it sounds like they're doing it for a good reason, but then, yeah, you also have to consider when they do things like this, it's not for a good reason. Either doing it out of some ulterior motive, or they're doing it just to cover and shield their own ass. So we'll see.
Copper divining rods. Is the Minneapolis, Minnesota disbanding of the police force for a negative ulterior motive? Something bad? No. Is the race baiting instigation scheme of the rioting and looting and the death of the black man George Floyd, including the pandemic, all a false flag concocted scheme by the New World Order? Yes. So both the pandemic and the race riots, in your estimation, are they nothing but a big distraction to take Americans' minds off the 2020 election year? So is this a way to keep the most Americans from going to the polls and voting? Republicans like Donald Trump being against mail-in ballots. Is this because the more people that vote, the less of a chance a Republican has to get elected? So the more Americans, the less people that vote, period, for anybody, the greater the chances of a Republican winning an election. Yes. Okay, interesting. Will the rioting slow down? Would it start to quiet down? The police officer the police officer that choked out George Floyd get at least second-degree murder charges? Okay. Now, according a Trump-loving Republican told me that there was a black police officer who was on top of George Floyd's back, standing or kneeling on his back. Is this true? Boy, these Republican flag wavers, man, they just love to make up stories. Are Republicans in general pathological liars that have no proven facts to back up their debates? Yes.
All right, I got a few of them.
All right.
Okay, so copper divining rods. So even when the rioting and the looting subside, is it still going to be the undertones or the beginnings of another revolution or another civil war?
Poke me in the eye that time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, copper divining rods. In my tarot card reading that I just did, when I was explaining how something big is happening, is it happening right before us? Okay. So, copper divining rods. Is it also happening in the background, like things are either known unknowns or unknown unknowns. Okay. All right. Well, not to change the subject a bit too much, but copper dividing rods. Will I change departments at work? Will I go out of the deli and up to the front end? Hmm? What's that supposed to mean? It did.
Well, one was deciding, and the other one went back, and then they both went back.
Should I try asking the question again or rephrasing it?
Yeah, rephrase it like in less words.
All right. So copper dividing rods. At my job, will I switch departments? Okay. So will I? Okay. So will I get a new job here in the next little bit? Okay. All right. Will it be at my old job of Food City? Okay. So will it be at the one downtown? Okay. So how about the one on North Eastman? Will I ever get a job at that Food City again? No. Okay. So now at least I know where I'll be getting a new job. Will it be within the next month? Okay. Well, not in the next month. All right. Will it be in the next 2 months? All right, so in the next 2 months. Okay. Interesting.
I just want you people to see that because I cut a fat straw in half. You see, the straw is much wider than the dividing rod, so there's no way I'm moving this. Okay, it's moving on its own. For you people that like to bust balls on the internet. See, look. See all the space in there? All right, so I'm not moving this. All right. Let me go back to the other screen. So, divining rods, will there be other politicians on the ballot this November of 2020? Yeah. Will these politicians get FaceTime or be invited to the presidential debates? That figures. So it'll be, the media is totally controlled, owned, and rigged by the oligarch. Is that true? And they will try to rig yet another establishment election, capitalist style. Yes, just as I thought. Just as I thought, because the people let it, they allow it. The people they're spineless. They're not like Americans were, like way back in the day, or the time the French were really pissed off and the French were turning over cars and setting things on fire. And Actually, that wasn't too long ago. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's how Americans. But Americans have to intelligently direct their fury. They can't like just start like destroying their community or the places where people have employment. You know, they really have to focus their rage.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any good leadership, just like the Occupy Wall Street movement. They didn't have good leadership. They were just like a bunch of college kids and hipsters just camping out and blocking the sidewalk and traffic, and that's why the cops were you know there, because they were harassing people going to work on Wall Street. You know, but they didn't have any leadership really. You know that. I mean, they had chapters in different cities, but it didn't go anywhere. You know, kind of like, you know, it started off big, even had their own Facebook page, but just like the Bernie Sanders campaign, they started off real big.
Now they're nothing.
Now they're zero.
Yep. And speaking of the rise and fall of different things, did you also notice that Anonymous has made a big comeback?
Yes, they've been putting out some pretty damn good videos on YouTube.
Well, Anonymous never really died. They just went underground, and here's why they had to go underground. Now, if they would have stuck with their original purpose of just a group of internet hacktivists and not had any form of leadership or organization or hierarchy, then they wouldn't have gotten caught. That's how the FBI and other various law enforcement agencies were able to penetrate them and bring down a lot of top anonymous officials. Now, it forced a lot of them to go underground for a while, but it never really stopped. It just went dormant. Well, now, since so much has been going on, and then now, you know, the ones that were arrested and, you know, they were able to penetrate in, I think they've still got the original people that were still there. But then, yeah, I think they also brought in a lot of new members, and they did a lot of restructuring, and they did a little bit more of a better job in terms of finding out who people are and doing a much better job of seeing who's a spy, who's not. So that way, there's not another incident like what happened prior. So I'm glad to see that. But like I said, they never really died. They just went dormant for a while. But you still had people still doing stuff here and there, but it was just so not prominent that it really was not really worth mentioning or discussing. But anyway,
So if you hack and expose through hacking the forces of evil, the FBI doesn't really like that, right? Or the United States government as a whole doesn't like that. Just like even the Democrat, what's his name, John Kerry, was at that time he was running for president. He called for the immediate arrest of Edward Snowden. He says, Edward Snowden, return to the United States and turn yourself in. For what? Edward Snowden exposed people that were guilty of something serious. So, you know, here's
James, can I just say you would like to show Democracy Now? You would be a fan of the show Democracy Now.
The only problem with Democracy Now is they kept on hitting me up for donations in my email constantly. They were annoying. Yeah, they wanted donations. Like, you know, even Bernie Sanders was a pain in the ass emailing me for donations. But yeah, so like Edward Snowden is a hero in my book. Anonymous, heroes.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, Anonymous, Edward Snowden, WikiLeaks. They just helped Trump. They just kind of, I don't know. They helped Trump beat Hillary, even though Hillary won the popular vote. But I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton either. So
Yeah, just look at Bob Ross and Bill Clinton. They're the same age. Bob Ross, notice how he looks just so vibrant and youthful because he's not married to Hillary Clinton.
Well, I heard Secret Service agents used to say they had some pretty big fights in the White House where Hillary was throwing China, dinner plates at Bill and cups and saucers and everything, and that off camera and off the microphone, Hillary Clinton was not a nice person to be around.
Yeah, they kind of
I can imagine.
Scandal.
Yeah, well, yeah, and but the thing is that what charges did the FBI have against the anonymous people they brought down? Just hacking?
Yeah, various hacking degrees, and they just got caught. That's why, if they'd have just stuck with having a very loose organization, no structure, no hierarchy, just a group of hacktivists fighting and exposing for what they believe to be right. If they would have just stuck with that, the FBI and other various law enforcement agencies, there would have been no way in hell they would have been able to have gotten into the group. Well, because they just started to establish a hierarchy and a structure, that's how they were able to get in.
Like this math professor I knew that taught at Rutgers University. He was a blackjack counter, and he got greedy because he did what I told him not to do. He's a little Jewish guy named Bobby Katz. He spent too much time at one casino. And what happens when you win hundreds of thousands of dollars at the blackjack table? All the cameras, the management, security, everybody's got their eyes on you. I told them, win, but don't stay at one casino too long. He got greedy, so too long. He got banned. You're out. Don't come back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the whole idea of going into a casino is to try to win, right? But if you win too much, they can just they reserve the right to refuse your patronage. Leave and don't. It's like a bar, like a bar business, nightclub. Like management can actually not practice good customer service. They can say, hey, I don't like this guy's look. I don't like his face. Kick him out. Yeah,
right.
So a casino, they advertise, they show somebody winning, hitting the big jackpot at the progressive slot machine. Yippee! Win at the Tropicana. But if you're too good, like let's say I walked in one time. I walked in with a pendulum. Not that I didn't have the bodyguard, and I went up to every slot machine, and I was actually winning the slot machines. They weren't. They were quarter nickel slots. I didn't get rich, but I was doing good. And security guys follow me around because he sees this pendulum spinning like a helicopter. If you can tie anything with weight, like a keychain, to dental floss or a string. If it spins clockwise, it means yes. If it goes counter, it means no. If it goes back and forth, it's undecided. So I was playing a high-low game, some Chinese game, and I was sitting there with the pendulum, and they're like, the dealer, the guy was like looking at me like, what the hell is this guy doing? This thing is spinning. I was winning 99% of the time. I was winning. Actually, it's 99% because the same security man was like not far behind me. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm using mysticism. So that's my little casino story. So
oh boy,
it's funny how they reserve the right not to have you in their casino if you're too lucky. Like Bobby Katz, the math wizard, the card counter. I told him, I says, you got to move around, man. You got to go to different casinos. This was Atlantic City. So so that's it. We're almost. We got about a few minutes left. Maybe they'll let it go. Maybe, like last time, they let me go overtime. But the 12th is not far away. The 12th is Friday.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I got to work this upcoming Friday. I'll have to check my schedule, but yeah, I only worked a couple days this week, so that's why I went out and did some door dashing to get some extra money. But what I'm gonna do is tomorrow I'm gonna work on the car and put some more antifreeze in it. And I'm gonna check the levels because it's got the radiator, but it also has a reservoir tank. So I'm gonna top off the radiator and the reservoir, and then I'm gonna give it a couple weeks, and then I'm gonna check it again. And if it's lower, then yeah, I might have a leak somewhere. But an easy way, easy way to check for a leak now is what you can do is you can buy some UV glasses and a UV dye kit, and you open up the packet, you stick it in the radiator, and then you take it for a drive, about a 5-10 minute drive. Then you come back, pop the hood, put the UV glasses on, then shine a UV light, and start searching under the engine bay. And that's a much easier way to find leaks now.
Oh, because the leak might be minute. It might not be obvious. Yeah, it might be. I mean, of course, if you see fluorescent green droplets on the asphalt, then you have a leak. But you know, it's funny. The reservoir always has the line where it says add up to here, or it'll say maximum fill line or whatever. Like it's almost like they want you to add antifreeze to the reservoir, but not to the radiator itself.
Well, you have to do it like that because the whole entire cooling system is on a loop. So when it says add to this line, eventually everything goes into the reservoir. The reservoir fills up, and then it goes back down according to levels. Now, like I could say, if there's a little bit of low coolant throughout the whole entire cooling system, it'll pull it from the reservoir, so we don't have to add it in. Well, there's many different ways to try to find a leak, but another thing someone was also telling me is it could be burning coolant. I really doubt that because a telltale sign that it's burning coolant is if there's like white smoke coming out of the tailpipe. There's no smoke coming out of the back. And also, if you pull the oil dipstick out, if it looks kind of like milky or something like that, then the head gasket's blown or the head gasket's leaking, and coolant and oil are mixing together and it's burning.
Yeah, you know what? Check all the fluids. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, always start with basics when it comes to diagnosing vehicle problems. I mean, if it's overheating, it could be low on coolant. So I'll start with that first. And also, if you have no heat, you could be low on coolant because, yeah, even though Freon keeps the air conditioning going and you have coolant to keep the engine cool, but then it does the same thing for in the wintertime where you don't use the Freon, you use the antifreeze as hot coolant to provide heat. So you always start with the basics. But I really doubt that I've got a head gasket issue because when you look at it, it's got little holes to where it allows all sorts of different fluids to be flowing through the engine, but separated from each other. Now, there are head gasket sealers that they do make to repair like small leaks in them, but those will maybe get you by another 6 months to a year. A head gasket, depending upon who you take it to, that could be a $100 to $200 job, or that could be an $800 to $1,000 job, depending upon who you take it to and what vehicle it's on.
Oh yeah,
well,
yeah. You got an Audi or BMW or something. Yeah, you're gonna soak you.
A Honda Civic, a Honda engine is not a very complex engine. It's a very spaced out engine. It doesn't have a lot of moving parts. It's fairly simple. So getting to a head gasket on a Honda engine shouldn't be too complex if it is. But like I said, I really doubt it. I would say probably there's a coolant leak somewhere, or somehow air is getting into the system.
Yeah, somebody showed me under the hood of a Volkswagen Passat
Mm-hmm.
and a Jetta, and everything was so conveniently placed on top. They said, "Look how beautiful this is. Everything is within reach." Everything was like, I says, "Well, it's German, you know. I mean, you know how American cars, you got to move you got to take parts out to get to the part you really need to fix. You have to literally take the damn top mechanical hardware off, because you can't get to it. It's like it could be the fuel pump, the water pump. It's like all the way on the bottom, and there's nothing like making it user friendly to if somebody buys a car and they are mechanically talented, they can get to everything without any trouble at all. There's nothing like that. I was talking to Michael about the South Park episode that was they were mocking San Francisco, the smuggler, and they were at that time hybrids just came out, I think. Yeah, not electric cars, they were hybrids, and San Francisco was the first to get them.
Well, yeah, the Prius.
The Prius, that's Toyota. Toyota
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny episode.
They were just going around touting Priuses, Prii everywhere, and
but
and
they also
Hondas.
They also mock California
Honda's
people.
a pretty good ass car.
That were moving. California people were moving to South Park in another episode, and they were clogging up the sewers with all the fiber from them taking the shit from all the healthy, holistic, organic food, all the organic food. And Mr. Hankey was getting sick. Mr. Hankey, was used to call Kyle, the Jewish kid, from the toilet bowl. Hello. Yeah, he was sick because too much fecal matter from all these California people with all the fiber and everything. They were.
Well, Bill Maher would say you're eating too much kale down there.
No, kale is actually. I mean, it's all good for you. Watercress, kale. I mean, right now I've been taking Moringa powder from organic Moringa for.
I fucking hate kale, man. I hate kale.
Moringa blows away kale. Moringa, I posted a couple videos on Moringa. It's got 17 times more calcium than dairy products. It beats everything for every nutrient. And it has fiber, detox, you name it, vitamin, beta carotene, vitamin C. Several
times. Some good old fashioned lettuce, and I'm ready to go.
Well, it's a powder. I 1 teaspoon. I mix it. I put it. I put natural cane, dehydrated sugar cane. It's like brown sugar, but it's more raw. Put that in. I put a couple tablespoons of brewer's yeast. Shake it up.
What's cumin?
Hmm?
What is cumin?
Cumin or thumins?
Cumin.
Oh, cumin is a spice.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a very pungent, spicy herb, I guess, or spice. I mean, it's a strong flavor. The Middle Eastern people use it often. Spanish people put it in their. If you're gonna make black bean soup or whatever, or you're gonna make chili with beef, they would add some cumin to that. You know, cumin. Well, coriander is the seed of the cilantro.
Oh yeah, that's what all those wheat ales be doing is the
When
coriander.
they use the seeds, when they grind the seeds, that's coriander. When they let it grow into the, it looks like parsley. It's actually from China, to be honest with you. Chinese parsley is cilantro, but fresh cilantro has an awesome aroma. That's why, you know, they cut it up, they put it on tacos, and what Damien knows about Mexican food and cilantro. They put it in sauce.
Yeah, and Kent Rollins, that guy's cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good thing I defrosted all those corn tortillas. I must have a stack this high in the refrigerator. I can make or you can make all kinds of freaking quesadillas and tacos. I mean, whatever you like, you can just throw on it.
Now, guys, I'm struggling with the difference between making a taco and just making a burrito, because I feel like I can't stuff the fucker.
No, burrito is a flour, is a large flour tortilla, not corn.
Right.
Burrito is a wrap.
Right, but I feel like I'm stuck with a burrito. Because every time I try to eat the taco, it becomes a burrito.
No, because if you're using a small corn tortilla, it'll just be an overstuffed taco where all your filling is falling out. If you want to make a burrito, you get a large flour tortilla, and you add your ingredients, and then as you wrap it, you fold it over. It's completely sealed.
Yeah.
But you have to, you know, it's like making sushi rolls. You can't overstuff this, you know, the nori. You know, they got a sheet of nori on a bamboo mat. You have to know when to stop adding your filling. Put the sushi rice, put the fish in the middle. So when you pick up the mat and you roll the mat, you got to make sure the nori is able to overlap and encase the ingredients. Well, the same thing goes for a burrito. You have to make sure the wraps, you know, on the ends, and you know, I mean, it's great to have a ton of stuff in it, but you don't want to be. You don't have to put a bib on, you know, and have everything fall all over you.
What about doing things on the wok? On a wok, can you do tacos with a wok? Is that possible?
You can heat.
I guess you could.
You can heat them up.
Cool.
You can heat them up. You can cook. You can steam in a wok. You can deep fry in a wok. You can stir fry. You can saute. You can put a meatloaf in a wok. You know, if you put liquid in there, but you can do pot roast. You can do a lot of things there, but you got to have the lid. You got to have the dome, the metallic dome lid, so you have a convection process. You know, the hot air starts to go in a circle.
How do you make snapper burritos?
I don't know what a snapper burrito is. I only know the fish, red snapper.
Yeah, they'll make a snapper burrito.
Oh, it's a fish. It's a fish. I had fish tacos.
Yeah, no, yeah, fish tacos are good, but I'm talking about like snapper burrito.
I tell you one thing: those Trader Joe's Pacific codfish nuggets make a great fish taco. There, because there's not that much batter around them. It's all solid meat. Most of it is solid cod. There you go. That's it.
Oh yeah.
It's the most reasonably priced seafood in Trader Joe's.
These things,
Well, speaking of,
these things are so fucking good, man. You can just
No, they're
plug them
great.
in. You can eat them
Yeah.
with pasta.
All right,
You can
Damien,
combine it with
you were
pasta
gonna
and
say?
salad. And, oh man, it tastes so fucking good.
what I was saying is, well, I had some downtime tonight door dashing, and I went to one of the hot spots, and I sat there maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I didn't get an order, so I was like, oh, well, I'll just grab me a little snack just to hold me over. So I was near a Burger King, so I walked in to see what kind of deals they were running, and they were running 8-piece nuggets for $1. So I said, okay, I'll pick up some. I asked them, do you have any spicy in? They said, yeah, we got spicy. I said, I'll take an 8-piece spicy and I'll try it with your all's barbecue. And oh man, Burger King's chicken nuggets surprisingly are really, really good. They're better than McDonald's. They're better than Wendy's. They are delicious.
Burger King.
Wendy's is spectacular.
Burger King, next to White Castle, Burger King is more enjoyable. Their products are more enjoyable than almost all fast food. Now, I haven't been to. I've been to almost every one of them. I've never been to Sonic. I've been to most of them, and I like Popeyes, White Castle, and Burger King. Now, Burger King once in a big while, they do what McDonald's does with the McRib, except Burger King has the pulled pork, the barbecue pulled pork sandwiches, 2 for $5, and they're loaded with barbecued pulled pork. They're not cheap.
Mhm.
They're long, like a hero roll, and you get 2 for $5, and it was loaded with barbecued pulled pork, and it was a great value. I mean, 2 for $5.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. They're running a special right now at Burger King. You can get 2 Whoppers for $6.
right? And they have ice cream sundaes now too.
Yep, they got the ice cream sundae. Surprisingly, when it comes to fries, I don't think Burger King has the best fries. Probably that would have to either go to Wendy's or that'd probably have to go to McDonald's because I mean McDonald's fries are really, really good. I like their fries.
And McDonald's,
Yeah.
does Burger King make the real milkshake from how McDonald's has their standard milkshakes, and then they have the special milkshake that they like to put whipped cream sometimes on top and a cherry.
Mhm.
It's more like a real, like if you order a strawberry shake, it's different. It's more like a real milkshake. Like if you went to, I don't know if you have Dairy Queens in Tennessee, but
Oh yeah, we got Dairy Queen.
yeah, it's more like that. Now I know Burger King has their additional ice cream that they never had before, like the sundaes. You get a hot fudge sundae, you get a strawberry topping, whatever you want.
Mhm.
Now I'm just wondering if they had the really good shakes.
Yeah, they do. Burger King has some pretty good shakes, but also Hardee's or Carl's Jr. has some really good milkshakes as well. Because I've seen them actually make them. They use real milk and real ice cream.
Okay, yeah, I've seen them advertised, but we don't have any in northeastern New Jersey. But they advertise just like Golden Corral. It's the stupidest thing. You would see the commercials, but you don't see any Golden Corrals around here.
Well, if you're ever down this way, we have a couple Sonics here in Kingsport, and we have a Golden Corral. So if you're ever down this way, I'll take you to Sonic and Golden Corral.
How do you like Golden Corral overall?
Depends on who's running the shift that night and who's the chefs that night. Because it seems like when you get the really good chefs that are working that night, everything's really good. But you get either just some dime a dozen or like some really terrible ones. Oh, sometimes the food's actually not really good because, especially if you go to the smokehouse section of Golden Corral and they're cooking the steaks. Now you either get the guys or the girls who really know how to cook a steak, or you get the ones who absolutely do not know how to cook a steak. And when you go up, and I like mine medium, but if they get a little bit medium rare or a little medium well, it's not going to bother me. Now I'll even take medium rare or medium well, but if they cook it well when I want it medium well, I don't really like that.
Medium starts when the blood stops showing up on top of the steak. Like when the blood disappears. I think it's rare when the blood first starts trickling on top. That's rare, and then a tiny bit of blood on top is probably medium rare. And I think medium well is more cooked, right? Medium is when the blood disappears, but it's like with a hamburger. You have to gotta know what you're doing, huh?
It's kind of in between of rare and medium well.
Yeah. Well, seafood is like cooking eggs. You don't walk away. You got to stay there. Like as soon as a shrimp turns pink, that sucker's got to come out. It's got to come out. Lobster, out, because you could ruin expensive seafood by overcooking it.
I don't eat seafood. The only thing seafood I eat is shrimp. That's it.
Yeah, like shrimp or shrimp. Same thing with lobster. I mean, shrimp can be dry and worthless if it's in like 1 minute too long. If you get fried clams or oysters or scallops, you're talking about deep frying. 1 minute in a very hot oil. That's how you deep fry without having greasy food. The oil has to be extremely hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, 217.
Yeah, and they didn't cut me off. They'll probably dock it this Friday. They'll probably they'll send me an email saying you've over because these people are like real anal. They'll say you went over a certain amount. Oh, you should get the professional version. So I say with Jay Theory says, screw that. I'm not paying to do these shoots. Now if we had a Patreon account set up with PayPal and people were donating a lot of money to us, then I would say, like that guy, Coach Greg Adams, the red pill man. He's making a lot of money from his Patreon. Girls. Yeah, but people donate a lot of money to his pay. He says, I just got back from Tahiti. Thanks to my fans sending money to my Patreon. He admits it.
You guys now know that Trump is only leading in Pennsylvania, and then he's behind everywhere else. He's only in Iowa he was ahead by almost as many as 12 points. Now there's a poll that shows him only ahead of Biden by 1, and in Iowa, that's one of the states that launched his whole career.
Well, Iowa's supposed to be a red state.
It was, but now it's showing that it's looking like it could go either way.
I heard Nebraska is the biggest beef producer, cattle ranching in the United States. Nebraska.
That makes sense.
Nebraska, yeah. That's why I guess out of the company Omaha Steaks. That's why they call it Omaha Steaks, I guess. But they're you know what I picked up? At Whole Foods, some ground bison. I'm telling you make a big 8-ounce bison burger, and you put that You put good hot sauce on it first, and then you put the slice of cheese on top, or even without the cheese.
Oh man,
you can taste that it's not beef. I mean, it's really that good.
man, that sounds fucking winning dish.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, it's not cheap, but I'm not paying for it.
Right.
Nod. So how's your gaming experience coming along, Damien?
Oh, Red Dead Redemption 2. I completed the story, and at the story end, you're not going to believe this, but for once in my life, I actually cried because of how it ended. Not because it was terrible, and not because it was terrible, but just how you knew it was happening right in front of you, and you knew it was going to happen, but you honestly didn't suspect that it was going to end like that. Because not to give too many spoilers away, but I'll give a overview of how the game ends. And there's another side story that I'm working through right now, but it's with a completely different character. So your main character's name is Arthur Morgan, and you're part of the Dutch Vanderland gang, and they were probably one of the most wicked and wild gangs of the West at this time. Well, in Red Dead Redemption 2, it takes place in the year 1899, and the first Red Dead Redemption takes place in 1910. It's weird. The first one takes place at the end. The second one is like a prequel, and you don't know if there's going to be a third or a fourth game, but Arthur Morgan is the main character, and out of all the ones that were in the group, he was probably the one that actually still had a moral compass left to him. He could still tell what really was right and wrong. He could choose between right and wrong, and in some instances he did choose right, and in some instances he didn't choose right. But I think ultimately he realized that he himself was a bit too far gone, and that he was just going to ride out his days however they were going to happen. But there's 6 chapters in the whole entire game. The end of chapter 5, beginning of chapter 6, he comes down with a very deadly disease that has no cure. And you notice that's when he starts to turn evil. Now, the way that it actually ends, someone in the gang betrays everyone, and Arthur finds out who it was, and then they have a fight to the death. But I'm not going to say who won.
It'd be cool if you can program yourself a facsimile animation, 3D animation of yourself being the fastest gunslinger the West has ever known. Faster than Wild Bill Hickok, faster than anybody. And then you watch yourself just gun down all these bad guys and being the hero of the Wild Wild West.
That would probably be something I would do, but I would probably be one of the biggest bounty hunters of the West.
Yeah. Plus, you're the fastest draw. Like nanosecond fast.
Yep. And I'd be the one where, yeah, I'd have the trench coat, I'd have the rifle and the shotgun slung over my back with probably dual pistols, bandoliered ammo all over here, all around here, have a stockpile of weapons on my horse, have all kinds of stuff with the hat, the bandana over my face, the glasses, the vest, the boots, everything.
Don't forget the gun clipped onto the, in the boot, and the boot knife, throwing knife hooked down to the boot, gun, a Derringer You know, like fully. You got a weapon, you know, in every little crevice, and then you're a bounty hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and your horse is like an Arabian, real nice Arabian horse. Well, what are the horses they had? Palominos, Pintos, and did they have a
Well,
at that time? Not really.
well, in the entire game, I had 3 horses, and it seems like I end up getting a new horse every 2 chapters. And here's how my first horse died. My first horse, when I did the whistle call to have it come over to me, it ran right out in front of a whole fleet of horses and buggies, and it just got ran over and it broke its neck.
Oh shit!
So I was like, oh, for God's sake. So I just got in the street, pulled out my pistol, and just shot it. I was like, I didn't have time to take it out behind the shed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, my second horse, this happened probably with by one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in video games. So my second horse, I ended up taming because it was a wild horse. I went out and I tamed it.
Wow.
So I went out in one of the prairies and I lassoed it, and I was able to put my saddle on it, and I tamed her, and it was a Mustang, a female Mustang. Very nice looking horse. And then towards the end of the 4th chapter, one of the dumbest things happened. So, remember how I explained how my first one ran into a whole fleet of horses and buggies and got killed? Well, this one is even more dumb. So, I was walking through the streets of the biggest city in this part of the map called Saint Denis. It's in the lower southeast corner because the first Red Dead Redemption map, yeah, it was primarily just open desert. This one has desert, but it has bayou, it has plains, it has rolling hills, prairies, rugged terrain, and it has snowy mountains. So it's got everything. Well, I was in Saint Denis, which is kind of like they're kind of basing it off of New Orleans because it's down in a bayou. Well, I was walking in the street, and then this person just runs out in front of me, and it says that I murdered them just because they ran out in front of me. So I'm on my horse. I'm trying to get out of the city, and I get chased by a bunch of lawmen, and then they kill my horse.
Oh, jeez.
So
The game is going to end up giving you a donkey at the end. You're going to end up.
No, I got a third horse. I had to go out in the prairie lands again and tame another one.
Jeez.
But this one, it decided it was going to walk normally, and then it saw a gator in a swamp, and then it kicked me off of it and then ran out of the swamp, and it still got bit by gators. So I was just like, fuck it, I am not keeping a horse, because apparently this game has cursed me and horses.
Yeah, you can't be the Midnight Rider.
Horse.
Midnight Rider.
So I was like, you know what, screw it. If I gotta go somewhere, I'm just gonna walk.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You ain't gonna catch me now. You ain't gonna catch me. I'm the Midnight Rider.
Excellent Allman Brothers song.
Yeah.
So yeah, I beat the game. I'm doing the side story now, but I felt so bad for Arthur to the point where I cried because he tried to be a decent person in the world of not so decent people, that he still tried to be moral and ethical, but he was just too far gone. But how he was betrayed and how everyone else was betrayed, I just...
You know, it'd be cool if you could make an avatar of yourself dressed on a horseback with the rifle, with the 6 shooters, the hat, everything, you know, like an avatar, and I don't know, send it to Jay Terrio just to like get under his skin or something.
Why? Why him? I thought he likes that kind of stuff.
No, he would like it. He would like it. He would like it. Um, the first time, well, I didn't technically meet Mr. Owens, but I sort of met him. Was when he he was on. He used to do Wildcard Wednesdays, and he had the camera facing the floor, and then when he left the show, everybody was talking about your dust bunnies on the floor. Remember that when there was like a falling out initially?
The reason why it was like that was because, yeah, we would clean and we'd vacuum, but then yeah, you also have to consider we have a child who also comes in the room and ends up destroying it. So, yeah, we clean it, but as soon as we clean it, it would just turn right back into a wreck.
Yeah. The webcam was down, but then you used your avatar, your military from the game.
Mm-hmm.
You used that. That was a good avatar. But yeah. So you know, you've come a long way. A long way. Now you're a progressive talk show celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, in fact, no. We've met even before that.
And a mystic too, and a clairvoyant. Before that,
yeah, we actually met before that. I think the first time me and you had a discussion, or even talked, or even knew of each other, was back in 2017. Actually, it was it was during one of Jay's shows. I don't know if it was Wildcard Wednesday, but it might have been, or it might have been another one. Because I know he had Wildcard Wednesday. He was doing some other ones that were like themed shows, like Malt Liquor Monday or something else Tuesday or things like that.
He ended the show because he's got to go to bed at 8 o'clock. He ended the show, and people continued talking, and then some people left, and I think it was me and you that were talking offline, off the air.
Right.
I think that's how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about
Dr. Dave.
Now Dr. Dave was on Fandango Friday. Dr. Dave wants to get back in the loop he was on Fandango Friday, and Jay went live Saturday, and Dr. Dave got an invitation because he wanted an invitation, but he didn't show up. But he was on the show Friday. He says, it's been a long time since I've been in the community, and I want to get back in it. And he had he's the one that brought that double IPA, best case scenario, it was called. It was like 9%. I think it was 9%.
Yeah, something like that. I noticed his background is definitely different.
Very different. He's got like all framed beer logos and advertisements all over the wall. All over the wall. You can't even see the wall. And it's very different. It looks like he's in an office. It looks like he's in an office. He's a big fan of cats because he shows a lot of photos of his cat or cats if he has more than one, which I don't know. He's a cat lover, but he does do pretty decent reviews. They're good. They're good reviews. He lives.
What's he doing now?
He lives outside of Cleveland. He's from Ohio.
Yeah. I saw that beer just now. That's 100 IBUs.
Really? Oh, you found the company online?
Yeah, I think Meesthead or Mesthead or something like that.
Yeah, best case scenario, double IPA.
Oh, that was the worst case scenario.
Or worst case scenario. It's called worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Why is it worse? Because it's high in alcohol, or?
Guess so.
Oh, it looked pretty good. It was like a dark reddish brown color when he poured it, and the head stood there for a while.
Oh, kind of like a brown ale.
Yeah, like a brown ale. Yeah, exactly. How did you like yours? I've never seen you present that beer. North
I'll
Island,
present it.
from San Diego, North Island IPA.
I'm definitely gonna buy this again. This is a North Island IPA.
Is that the one you did the review on YouTube Live? Not, I mean, YouTube
no.
video.
No, that was Providential. That was Providential by Unibrow. It was a
Unibrow.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. It was okay. Not
Wasn't that great? But this one you like better, right?
a lot better, and I like the name a lot better.
Well, if you happen to have one or two left over for the next time,
I'm buying this again. No,
for the next time, if you like it that much, get it again, because I like to see what it looks like, when you drink it.
Yeah, I'll buy it again. Just as long as the internet's working. But
I have no idea this happened to me Friday or Saturday. It happened. It mysteriously just went like sometimes when I turn the cable TV on.
That's not okay.
When I turn the cable TV on, sometimes it'll say HDMI. You hit the HDMI on the desktop is supposed to show you what channel you're at, and if it says ARC, it says ARC 3 not connected. So Spectrum told me to go up to the cable box and hit the power button. That should turn the TV on when HDMI says it's not connected to the cable box. And it did. I hit the power button manually. Boom. TV went on. Now, why does it sometimes not connect? I have no idea, because when I call the company, they says nothing's down in your area. We don't see a problem. I says, well, the tech was at the house one time. He checked all the cable connections. He said everything's good, and they showed me how to reset the internet. The button is so small, I have to use a toothpick to press the button. I have to use a toothpick.
Yeah. And
some things with the internet are mysterious. They just can't be explained. But there are people that try to sabotage those that tell the truth. I have an open mind about this whole thing, that there could be people that sabotage and that know how to hack. My wife had my ex-wife from Colombia has a master's degree in computer engineering. She knew how to hack. She was trained in hacking.
They may have gotten Damien off of this stream.
No, it was probably something to do with his tablet or something.
Yeah, I was checking the battery and it refreshed the page. I only got like 10% battery left.
I got to get off anyway, because I've elapsed my free time.
All right.
Not that they're going to get any money out of me, but I'm sure there's an email telling me this.
Yep, and then the next beer review I'm going to do, and I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I got some pretty good deals on some Busch Light, the big one, tall cans.
Okay. Now, what is this Coors Banquet that people are talking about? Is it worth trying?
Ooh, Coors Banquet. Okay, so Coors Banquet has been around for a pretty good while. That was actually the beer that really got Coors Brewing Company started. So it's only brewed at one place in the entire world. It's only brewed at the Golden, Colorado plant. Now, Coors Light is brewed at all the other Miller Coors breweries throughout the United States, but Coors Banquet is only brewed there. So it is 5% alcohol, so it's around just a regular beer category. When you look at it, it's darker than like Pabst Blue Ribbon or Miller High Life or Budweiser. And you'll also notice that when you smell it, it has like a little roastiness because I'm not sure what all malts they use. I know they use Moravian malt, which was a gift to, I think, Adolphus Coors from someone in Europe, and they've been using Moravian malt ever since. Now, I don't know if Moravian malt is slightly roasty in its flavor or appearance. I don't really know that, but when you taste it, it tastes like it's got a roastiness and it's got some complexity to it.
Really?
Yeah, it tastes really good. It's really unique, but that was one of the whole entire premises of Smokey and the Bandit was to smuggle Coors Banquet back over to this side of the Mississippi River because it wasn't completely sold nationally here in the United States until 1991, when Indiana was the last state to get it in 1991. So,
and it's made the original plant in Golden, Colorado, the original brewery. And I didn't know there were different types of malts. I know there's like 1,001 different types of hops, but I didn't realize that malt came. It's very interesting. It's
yeah, malt is very complex, and hops are very complex. Like you can have Moravian malt, which is what Coors Banquet uses, and then you got 2-row pale malt and 6-row pale malt blends, which is what a lot of American adjunct lagers use. And then
also a lot of IPAs, right?
Yeah, they use a lot of pale malt in IPAs. Now, that's if they want a regular one. If they want a darker one, they can either roast it or use a darker colored malt. I mean, you can use whatever you want. So, yeah, you got those malts, and then you can have like chocolate malt, or you can also have like caramel malt. And they also have like caramel 40, caramel 80, caramel 60. I mean, there's all kinds of different malts. Same thing with hops.
interesting.
So yeah, if you want to get the most complexity out of beer, just experiment with the malt, the yeast, and the hops. That's all you really got to do.
Yeah, you don't need all this fruity flavor and extracts of, I mean, you want a basic ingredients, and just experiment with different varieties of malts and hops.
I don't like all these fruit forward ales. I don't like all the fruit forward beers. They try to call it hoppy, but it's fruit forward ales that drive me crazy.
Yeah, I've been trying to scout out the area for local craft beer. Nothing new has really come into the area, and all the ones I really wanted to try have shown up, or they're going to be on the way out soon. So I always check out the stores every so often whenever I go out. Like every time I go to like a grocery store or any other place, I always go to the beer section to see what they got. I'm always scouting for stuff. Always.
That's good. And you know what? And in the South, you have more liquor store options, and you have, like Walmarts with huge liquor departments, and you just have more options. Like, for instance, the Trader Joe's by Michael has a liquor department, and in New Jersey, only like 2 or 3 have liquor departments. But in the South, you can get anything you want. And you
even Everclear,
get a lot of bargains. You hard liquor too is very reasonably priced. You see all the bargains Jay Terrio is always bragging about finding.
Like he lives over by Trader Joe's, I think.
He paid $8 for bourbon. You know, for a lot of them are under $10. Various whiskeys and bourbons, and he sees bargains all the time. There are no bargains in booze by me, because you got all these laws and those pain in the ass women, mothers against drunk drivers, and that, you know, got all these laws passed, and they're really, I don't want to say it's like a dry state, but you know, even the management of the liquor stores, they just don't try to get as many varieties of craft beer, wine. No, wine they have. They have a big variety of wine. The liquor is overpriced. The hard liquor. They limit the hard liquors. They don't limit the wines, and they limit the beers. They really do. You don't, like, you should be able to walk into a liquor store and see single bottles and cans for sampling and for making your own 6-pack. You should see cases of beer unrefrigerated, stacked up, all the brands, as many as you can get, craft and macro, both. If I was a manager, that's how you maximize sales. Customers want to see abundance of product. They want to see stacked shelves that are totally stacked, stuffed with product. You know, you got to have, you sell more that way.
Yeah, I know exactly the kind of one you're talking about. Now, we do have some like that here in Tennessee, but few and far between. And after that, we'll probably wrap this up. If you ever go to Kentucky, there's a local chain called Liquor Barns over in Kentucky, and I've been to one. When you go there, they look on the outside like really big super Walmarts on the outside. But when you actually go in there, good God above,
That much, huh?
they have so much beer, so much wine, and so much liquor. It is unbelievable. The whole store is filled up with it.
So you can find craft beers from all over the country in this store?
Yeah, and they're called Liquor Barns. The one I went to was back in 2017 when we took a road trip to Kentucky. We went to Lexington, which is about an hour east of Louisville. So the quickest way to get to it from here is if you're here in eastern Tennessee and you go to the city of Knoxville, whether you come from it on I-40 from Nashville, or you're coming to it from the 81 to 40 from this section, or if you're coming up on a I-24 or wherever it is you're coming from to Knoxville, you go to this place which takes you to the bypass of Knoxville of 275, and then you get on an exit and you go north, and then you go on I-75 north into Kentucky, and it's a straight shot up to Lexington. I want to say from here it's probably about 3-4 hours.
Okay.
And one of the places you go through on I-75 when you cross up into Kentucky is you go right past Corbin, Kentucky, which was the birthplace of KFC.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you go up through there. Now, before you cross into Kentucky, you go through some really iconic places like Oak Ridge and Oneida and a few other places. And then I will say some of the places you were talking about, like Wolfe County, Kentucky, where people are living in shacks. Yeah, along I-75 going to Kentucky, you go through some places like that. It's weird when you go through there. You see some really like down in the dump places, but then you also see some really nice places as well. It's really weird.
Oh, that's how it is in South Florida. When I was in Palm Beach, you drive a few minutes over a canal, and you're in a ghetto with palm trees, Riviera Beach, Florida. You got drug dealers and it's like and Brooklyn is like that too. You can be in a real, townhouses, brand new yuppies living, and then drive like 5 minutes, and you're in a bad area of Brooklyn. It's weird how the culture shock of these two types of neighborhoods can be like with minutes apart from each other. And of course, you go in a nice neighborhood, the cops are patrolling the streets up and down, up and down. In the bad neighborhood, it's like, who cares? They let them kill themselves. That's the attitude they have. But anyway, yeah. What I'm gonna do is when I go sit and go on my phone, I'm gonna see if it works. I'm gonna send you guys a request to join via webcam. And if you're going to be busy playing video games, I'll send it to both of you, but I'll send it to Michael and just see if it works, because we had a glitch problem. Facebook allows people to come on by video, but not from a page, from a group. And from your profile. Don't ask me why. And see if it works. It doesn't. It's free. So
yeah, we'll see.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right, you're welcome. All right.